All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into, okay, we got a couple more trades to talk about, and then maybe we'll get into our game at the end.
Maybe.
I think we may not. Kristaps Porzingis for CJ McCollum. I've listened to Mike Richmond on the Locked On Blazers podcast, and if I hadn't listened to him, I wouldn't think that this deal would be possible. But he is so down on what CJ McCollum brings, and it seems like this is a team, the Blazers, that need to make some kind of move. They need to blow it up, because the team that they kind of built, the Dame, CJ, Robert Covington, Nurkic, like that crew with Powell, like Norman Powell coming off the bench, Anthony Simons being young and interesting, Larry Nance now they brought in. They just cannot keep those guys on the floor. They cannot do that. And so now they've come to a point where like the fans are asking to tank. The Damian Lillard's out. The team is just in shambles. It's a team that needs to it needs a new direction. I think it needs to go Glee and go full Mr. Schuster, new directions. And CJ McCollum and Kristaps Porzingis could be that new direction for both teams. And for the Mavericks, it's definitely a step backwards defensively. It takes away from some of the things that the Mavericks have been able to do this year, because if you bring in CJ McCollum, that's not a positive defender. And you're also taking away one of your few rim protectors on the team. I get that. But it's taking maybe a little step back defensively to go forward even more so than they had before offensively. And consistency-wise, CJ McCollum's usually playing. He's not really injury prone. And so I think the Mavericks should consider a deal like that if the Blazers would.
It achieves what you're wanting to achieve from your angle there of if both teams want to just go a different direction with how they're rolling their lineups, because all of a sudden now you have a pick and pop, like what they kind of wanted to do with throwback Myers Leonard in Portland is to have this big that, I mean, and actually, it worked for a little bit, like the pick and pop with Dame, a center that could pick and pop with Dame. And
Myers was 50, 40, 90, like 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the free throw line one year with them.
Yeah. So like that could be, if they wanted to shake it up around Dame and say, let's go a different route. Let's make the number 2 guy next to you a shooting big and all of that. Then I get it from that angle. I think from Dallas's angle, looking at it, if they entertain that, then what happens with Brunson? Because now you're paying CJ McCollum $30 million a year to be, the guy, which I think he would fit great next to Luka. But then are you going to pay, JB 20 to come off the bench? Because I don't think you can play Brunson, CJ, and Luka together. I could be wrong, but I don't know how I feel about Brunson and CJ together as a starting unit.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you can play both of them together. And I think some nights you have to make that choice, which one you can play.
And then you have to ask yourself, does Brunson want to stay in Dallas if he's going to come off the bench whenever he knows he can be a starter elsewhere?
If the team is better and they're going to win, it sounds like he does want to stay, but we can't really speak for him.
That's the thing. I would wonder if they entertain something like that, but I love CJ. I love CJ's game. I don't think the latest stretch by him defines like who he is. I think we've seen him at a higher level than what he's at right now.
You think these 5 games don't define his season?
He did have a collapsed lung this year, so
I said he's not super injury prone. He played 80 games 3 years in a row, then played 70 the 2 years when they did, the season they didn't have as many games. He played 47 games last year and then 33 so far this year. I mean, he's had some injuries last 2 years, but before that, he was playing really well. 20 points per game, always. He can get to the basket. He's, not necessarily the distributor that you would maybe want in a secondary creator, but he can be, he can dish it out, and he can definitely shoot buckets. He can get buckets. He's incredible in the mid range, which adds. Can you imagine Luka, Brunson, and CJ McCollum all like shooting the mid range? The Mavs mid range would just be a big green like blob.
Just fighting for mid-range shots.